Hi everybody, and welcome to this webinar on Storytelling Meets AI. So today we're going to look at how AI will help you as a teacher prepare for storytelling and how your students will then use stories to get better at English. So what kind of story do you want to tell? Do you want to talk about an enchanted forest? Or do you want to talk about the castle and the princess? Or do you want to talk about a tiger that escaped from the zoo? These are all possibilities. But let's start off anyway with some ways of using stories and also looking at the characteristics of the story. So first of all, we can do some things to build up our storytelling techniques, which is with our students, such as ordering the story, having them order the story, having them retell a story from a summary. We could also have them tell the middle of the story. Or we can do even something more interesting, which is give them part of a story made by AI, possibly, have them write their part of the story, and then have AI finish the story, kind of enriching. So when we think about this, we have to keep a few things in mind. First of all, we should think about the language covered in the classroom. We should also think about starting with more everyday situations, and from there we can progress on to the more magical and fun situations, of course. And of course, we need to remember another thing, which is KISS. Keep it short and simple. So let's start off with our first story. It's time for storytelling. The Lost Backpack. Now you can see that this lost backpack is a beautiful backpack with a blue backpack with yellow stars. Now you have a job, and that job is to put this in order. So can you please pause this video for a few minutes, read the story, and think about what order would you put it in? What starts it off? How does it then continue? And how does it go on, and how does it finish? 2 minutes. Okay, so did you get the story in order? So it starts off with Emma and her lovely backpack, of course, right? And from there, she realizes that she's lost it. Then she goes around looking everywhere for it, and finally, she finds it at school. So that was ordering a story. Now let's look at telling a story or retelling a story and transforming a story. And I'm going to give you a story outline. And this story outline is basically what I did is I took a story written by AI and I asked AI later to summarize it. And now what I'd like you to do is to read this summary of the story outline, and I'd like you to remember as much as you can. And this is a really fun activity to do with students. They will be very, challenged to try to remember most of the elements or all of the elements of the story. And just one thing in mind, and that is you will have some help when you tell the story. You will have the main elements of the story. You'll have one day Max, and suddenly, but when, now Max and Mia, and these main points will help direct you in retelling the story. So here you go, 2 minutes. So how did you do in telling the story? Did you do a good job? Well, that would be great to have had somebody next to you to tell it to, but I want you to know how to use this in the classroom. And that is when you have your students all try to remember the story, then what you do is you break them up into judges or listeners and storytellers. Now the judges have to be very kind and they have to remember to say things like, you did a good job, you did a great job, or maybe you could remember a few more elements, but never be critical. Okay? So it works out really nicely because one person is really challenged to listen and the other one is trying to remember all of the other things that may have been missing from the story. Let's go on now to our third kind of story, and that is telling the middle of a story. So I have a story here called Tom Can't Find His Friends. And Tom goes to the park, he's looking for his friends, and he gets there and he says, where are they? And he can't find them. Well, we'll give you the ending, and the ending is that he finds them by a lake. Now tell me, what happened in between? How did he get to the lake? How did he know he was supposed to go to the lake? That's for you to figure out, and you have 2 minutes to do that. Okay, so this is where creativity should be greatly rewarded. And I'm going to tell you what AI did in this, and it was not very creative, actually. In AI, it gave us the easiest solution of all, which is to pick up the mobile phone and call your friends. So I'm not sure how you want to do that with your classroom, but I like to say the most creative ending, or the most creative middle of the story, is the best. And so there could be great things like following a dog, or possibly hearing some ducks quack and I go down to the lake, or perhaps asking an old lady, or asking the police, and finally finding their friends. Now, let's go on to the fourth story. Now, the fourth story is called, it's called Taking Turns with AI, Telling a Story, or in my little terminology, co-generation. And I have a story here about the test, and the test is about a young little girl named Wendy. Wendy's studying, and she's got a little problem, and that is her brother next door is making too much noise. What is she going to do? Is she going to go down and turn off the electricity? Is she going to tell her parents? Is she going to go over and hit her brother? What's she going to do? It's for you to decide, and what we're going to do now is have you decide what comes next. And ideally, what we would do then is keep this story, and you would type it up and put it into AI. So let's see, 2 minutes. So what does Wendy decide to do? Well, this is written by a class. She decides to go to the kitchen and have a cup of hot chocolate, but her mom and dad have gone to the grocery store. She says she needs a break. And at that point, something surprising happens, and that is written by AI. This story written by AI goes as this. She says that she studies a lot, she thinks about it, and then her brother comes in, and you know what he says? "You'll do great, Wendy." And she decides she's going to go back to her room, she's going to study, and she's going to try again. And that's how the story goes. So that was a co-generation where part of the story is written by the students and part by AI. But the teacher was the intermediary, remember this. So they didn't have to put it in AI, it was you. So can you use AI to help you with storytelling? That's the question. So I think what's really important now is to watch a little brief video and look at just how the AI process works and how you can then get stories to come out of AI and get something that you really like to use with your students. By now you've got some ideas for using storytelling in the classroom and the reasons why. Now let's look at how AI can help us. So I have open here 4 different platforms for AI. I've got Claude, I've got Gemini, I've got ChatGPT, and I've got Microsoft Copilot. All of them work about the same. Each has a place where you need to put what you want it to do. That's called a prompt. And let's start off with using Claude. Now, I've chosen Claude today because it does protect your privacy better, and it won't share your ideas so much outside of the platform. So I've got a prompt here that I've written, and it says, write a simple story of 4 paragraphs for 6th grade ESL students, A2 level, about a boy named Tom who can't find his friends in the park, using present simple and continuous. So let's put that in there. And it's going to write the story right in front of your eyes. Okay, he's going around, he's looking for his friends. He doesn't see his friends, he sees other people, but not his friends. He goes around here and there. Now you notice that there are some vocabulary words that maybe are, new, like monkey bars and so on, but we could ask for it to modify it. So can you remove playground equipment? And substitute with other things in the park. Let's see what it does. Okay, well, this one is a little bit easier. Not going to read it now, but let's remember that when we have the story, we can then cut and paste it. So I do Control-C, Control-V, V for voila, And I've got it here now, and what I can do is revise it. Okay, and there might be a few things I'll change, but largely enough, I think it could be a good story. And it ends with a surprise, which I'm quite happy about. Let's just do the same thing really quickly here in ChatGPT, since it is the most famous one. Or on second thought, how about Gemini? Gemini is less known, but I find it writes really nice stories. Gemini is from Google. Google. So the same thing. This is much shorter. This is already much simpler. So we can, again, we'll take this and we'll put it into our text. And I guess I should copy that title again to show that it's two different stories. And now I'm ready to work. So I hope this was useful for you. And more than anything, I hope that little storytelling comes out of AI for you. See you around.